Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us in today's episode of Spotlight on Waco. We're going to mix things up a little bit today, which I'm really excited about. If you've seen some of our past episodes, you'll see that we highlight some fun restaurants and venues and places to shop in Waco. But today we're joined by Dillion Meek, who is the mayor of Waco. So Dillion, thanks so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
To be here. Really excited to get to talk today.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And before we get started, I want to just give a shout out to First Title Company of Waco. Thank you guys so much for sponsoring this episode. We really appreciate you guys. And so look forward to visiting with you a little bit about just some of the things that have been happening in Waco, obviously over the last decade, really for a long time, but especially over the last few years, Waco's seen a lot of growth. And so appreciate you and the leadership that the council and you and the great staff at the city of Waco have provided. So really appreciate that. But why don't you speak a little bit to the last year or so, a couple of the big wins that we've seen in Waco.
Yeah, it's a great season in Waco. And like you said, we've got a great team right now. And I think when I think about the team of Waco, really the whole city is on this team. We've got a lot of different people, great city staff, a great city council, but really just every member of our community who's really trying to make Waco a better place for everybody. It's been a really dynamic and exciting year, a lot of opportunity for growth and a lot of growth that we're seeing, a lot of initiatives to make Waco stronger. A couple of the things I'm really excited about is our riverfront development. It's going to be a $140 million project. Kind of the jewel in the crown is going to be our new basketball pavilion. So bringing Baylor basketball into downtown Waco is a real win. Not only because of the number of people that'll come to those games throughout the season, but also because we have an opportunity to activate that space year round with concerts and other events. That's going to be really dynamic and exciting. And we have the rest of the riverfront development under construction right now. I'm really excited about some of the stuff in progress, the restaurants that are looking at coming on the riverfront. I think the developers in final negotiations with a hotel, the Graduate Hotel is who they're looking at as kind of likely to be the hotel there on the riverfront. And again, that's not solidified yet, but they're kind of in exclusive negotiations now. So I'm excited for that developer, Catalyst Urban Development, and all of the work that's being done on the riverfront.
Yeah, that's really awesome because I know when I came to Waco as a Baylor student back in the 90s, I mean, people have been talking about Waco needs a riverfront development and some fun things to do there, and it's finally happening now. Gosh, 20-something years later, so it's really awesome.
It's coming together and it's really exciting. We passed our budget recently, a $500 million budget with a lot of good things in it, but one of the things I'm really excited about too is we did a property tax rate reduction and really increased our homestead and disability and over 65 property tax exemptions this year. It's not lost on us at all that the cost of living in Waco has gone up. And we're balancing that with the cost of construction for city projects going up. Streets and infrastructure projects have increased. And the labor market looks different than it did a few years ago. And as costs have gone up and inflation has become a reality, we want to make sure that we're taking care of our own employees. So that's on one hand. And then on the other hand, recognizing one of our primary revenue streams is property taxes, and we can potentially control that by trying to reduce those where we can. So our property tax rate is lower than it's been since 2007. And we've seen nearly $6 million of lost revenue that we've given back to the taxpayer through these exemptions that we've implemented. So we're really trying to balance that out well, steward the taxpayer dollars carefully, and be cognizant of the realities our residents are facing right now.
Yeah, no, that's huge. I mean, that's in the last 15 years, the lowest rates have been. And so that's amazing with all the costs that are going up that you guys were able to do that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah,
taxpayer for sure.
Definitely a balancing act, but something that we're trying to take seriously.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Another thing I'm really excited about is our airport. We have been doing a lot of capital investments throughout the entirety of the airport, but one I'm really excited about is our terminal renovation project. Hopefully by this time next year, the terminal will be totally renovated, and that project will be complete. And we're also looking ahead at the potential of bringing in new carriers into the airport as well, and willing to give incentives for that. If we need to incentivize for that, we're going to do it, because I think there's an ROI to the taxpayer if we can grow our economy and our tourism base and provide a benefit to our residents by really ensuring that there's consistent flights in and out of Waco.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Really excited about that. The last thing I'll say is, as we were talking about a minute ago, probably not going to win any beauty pageants, but infrastructure. We've put more money in to capital investments in Waco than we ever have. Streets, water, sewer, these are really important aspects to our growing city. And that includes the edges of town, making sure we have good infrastructure, converting, old farm roads into bigger streets, as well as in the middle of town. The other day, we were renovating or reconstructing a street and the water infrastructure under that street. And there was literally a wooden pipe that was still in use, getting water to users. Yeah. So, 2 words, deferred maintenance. Yeah. So we are really committed to making sure that as Waco grows, we have the infrastructure to support that.
Yeah.
And that's where so much of our money is going to.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I know just as a realtor here in town, people are asking a lot about, what's going to continue to happen in Waco in terms of the growth and the areas and all that. And we've seen that so much over the last few years, but it really will continue to grow, I think. And so I think putting 100%. The money into the infrastructure, because we've got people moving here every year, by the hundreds. And so
Waco's a very ideal city because Texas is a desirable state, a business-friendly economy, and we're seeing a lot of growth throughout the state of Texas. And Waco's obviously right in the middle of DFW and Austin, so we're seeing a lot of people have an attraction and interest in coming here.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, that's great. What would you say moving into 2023 and beyond that you see as maybe 2 or 3 areas of continued growth or challenges that might be before us of how do we continue to be a business, family-friendly environment for the people of Waco?
Housing is definitely one of the top concerns, and it's interesting where we kind of are in the market right now, but we definitely have a strong commitment to really trying to deploy strategies to increase the affordable housing supply in Waco and increase the housing supply period in Waco. We did a study recently that showed we have about 5,000 too few of houses than we need right now. And so we're committed to trying to deploy strategies in the core of the city and on the edges of the city to make sure there's affordable housing stock. We've looked at housing, our housing study. We have a housing study that we're going to be deploying. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Continued infrastructure is going to be another priority. Like I mentioned, really making sure that we get roads and water into the edges of the city where we're seeing so much growth in a thoughtful, strategic, proactive way is going to be really important. I think you're going to continue to see a lot of economic development in Waco. We see a lot of growth in the economy and exciting business announcements coming. And one of the things I really want to do is make sure that we're connecting people in our community to wealth building opportunities, particularly the most vulnerable and financially secure. Really want to make sure that those guys, that our community members have access to wealth. And so how do we support entrepreneurs and also connect people to job and job training opportunities?
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And I look forward to having, further conversations with you about especially the housing, but continuing how to grow a community, grow businesses, everything that's going on that's awesome that we didn't even talk about with like parks and recreation and other aspects of the city that are just blowing and going as well. So
excited to do it, man.
Again, thanks so much for joining us today. 100%. Again, thanks to First Title for sponsoring this video. As always, guys, please, follow us, like the channel. We'd love to connect with you in further episodes. And if you have any questions that you're like, hey, we talk with Dillion in the future, specific questions, please message us. We'd love to address those as well. Thank you so much.